Hey, record loving friends, it's Brian from tokyorecordstyle. Happy New Year! I am here to do the official 2025 Fluffy's vinyl tag. Hey Fluffy, what's up? I liked your tag a lot. They were really inspiring questions. I'm very excited to hop on board your vinyl tag, and I can't do it at my normal little spot because my family is celebrating downstairs. So I'm up here in the in my son's room at my drum kit, or our family's drum kit, and so I'm going to be broadcasting from here. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off the year right. First record you spun to start the year. Now, actually, I'm going to start off without a record. I'm going to give a shout out to Katie Cord of Cord Records. She's a gal in the VC in Oz. I don't know exactly where she is, but I really love her channel. She participated in the Japan vinyl tag, and she put out a video today that I really loved, and it was about an artist named Elise Weinberg, who was an obscure singer-songwriter from the 60s who was mentioned in the same voice as Joni Mitchell and Laura Nyro, and apparently she was overlooked at the time, and she had a lot of record deals that went really south. Unfortunately, she just didn't really catch her wave. But this is her record, and I listened to this on my way home from our little holiday, and it is so good. It was really fantastic. She's 20-something years old. It's psych, folk, singer-songwriter. It's got sitar and tablas on it. She's got a really unique voice. She's Canadian. She traveled down to New York to hang out with Neil and Co. for a few days, and they recorded on the record, and she was staying with Mama Cass, who introduced her to... There's this whole episode of this great story, and unfortunately, a lot of her work remains unreleased. So she has caught my attention first thing in the year 2025. So a big shout out to Elise Weinberg, this artist whose record from 1969 is called Elise, and to Katie Cord of Cord Records, who turned me on to it. That was the first thing I spun, the first thing I listened to in my headphones today as I was driving back, and I am going to pick up this if I can find a copy of it. So number 2, an album originally released in the year that ends with 9. Okay, I graduated high school in 1999, so I'm gonna go with Primus's Tales from the Punch Bowl from 1995. This is 4 sides, and you might not recognize this cover because it had a slightly different cover. This was the official vinyl release cover, but the CD, which I'm sure sold many, many, many more copies, had like an interactive game on it, and you could do something on a Windows machine with it. I never once played it. It was the beginning of 3D graphics and sort of like Toy Story 1. You could ride on the front of this ship and cruise through the ocean, and this one has Wynona's Big Brown Beaver. It's got Southbound Pachyderm. It followed Pork Soda, and it was preceded by the Brown album. Killer. I'm a huge fan of Les and Co. Prog rock, punk, funk. It's so groovy. If you haven't gotten on board with Les Claypool and Primus, you are missing out. An amazing band from 1995. Okay, next up, Nonstop Play. Show a record that you couldn't stop playing last year. Okay, that would have to be something that I just recently scored on wax, but that I have been listening to streaming nonstop for more than a year. This is Seagar Rose's 2017 record called Agatis Birjun. A really interesting instrumental musical piece that's a little bit of a departure from their earlier synthesizer-focused work. It's really, really beautiful. This record is ambient and beautiful, and there's singing and vocals on it that's different from their first couple of records, and it's just an absolute masterpiece. It's really pretty, and it was featured in Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou by Wes Anderson. It's in the final scene where they discover the jaguar shark. Really great emotional moment in that film. And this record, I'm very happy to get it. It's got a special texture on it, and it's got the sticker on it, and this was a limited edition reissue. Next up, number 4, your 25th album on discogs. And that would have to be my copy of Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody. A white label promo that I scored for 300 yen at one of the local book offs, and I was very, very stoked. It's a promo. And I like to think that it could have been a record that was played and it was the first time people heard Bohemian Rhapsody. And we all know the story of Bohemian Rhapsody. It was the piece of music that was entirely too long for anybody to appreciate, and it defied all odds, and Wayne's World brought it back from obscurity. So that was my 25th record that I scored in 2024. Next up, favorite release of 2024. This was also something that I just scored recently. It's not a record, it's a CD, but it is Nigerian guitar roots that I just scored from a new record shop that I discovered in Shibuya called Elise Records, run by the very lovely Harada-san, who has a label with the same name, Elise Records, and with his buddy of 30 years, Fukusawa-san, who compiled this collection of Nigerian guitar roots music from 1936 to 1967. They released this 2-disc set, which I've actually only listened to the first disc of it, but I'm just so excited to have found this record shop and to find a place that might just have a whole treasure trove of music, new interesting music that I have no idea what it is. This is a really fat book that comes with it, and I was very delighted to see that half of it is written in Japanese and the other half is written in English. So this is my very new, exciting discovery of 2024. This is a 1 CD set of a 3 CD collection, and this is the latest one released in 2024. Shout out to Elise Records. Next up, a purple or gold record. This could be vinyl too. Okay, I am going with my beloved Flaming Lips. Their 2000 record, Oxymlody, Polish word, which is a very awesome record, and it's got purple wax on one side, and sorry, Fluffy, not gold on the other side, but a lovely orange. And this is their, I want to say 14th studio record. Yes, and from 2017, this included the new lineup of band members that they had. Of course, you know them from Oklahoma Represent, really cool band, psychedelic rock, experimental band. And this record, I don't know if it really got the attention that a lot of the other records in their discography have, Soft Bulletin and Yoshimi and Cloud States Metallic, but this one is awesome. It's really, really good. Luscious soundscapes and really beautiful songs. A couple little funny moments in it as well. Okay, next up, a live album from California. Represent California, Fluffy. Okay, which is why we did this last one of gold and purple, because of the LA Lakers. And shout out to Kobe Bryant. I love Kobe Bryant, and I love how hard he worked, and he's an inspiration to me. So this band is also an inspiration to me. This is Garcias Gang. You ever heard of them? Maybe not. But if you take a closer look, they might look familiar. Look at these degenerates. Look at these punk rockers. How cool do they look? That looks pretty familiar. That old beardless guy. That's our old friend Jerry Garcia. And this is a bootleg Dead record that I scored from Flash Disc Ranch. I freaking love this. This is 2 live shows from the Fillmore East. Oh no, I thought it was the Fillmore West. Oh no, sorry Fluffy, it's New York. Hold on, let me see the other side. Oh no, it's the Fillmore East, my bad. Okay, a record from New York, a live record from New York. I broke the rules. I did think it was the Fillmore. I love this record. It's got a Dark Star St. Stephen on it, and it's from April 28th, 1971, so it's pretty early days. Turn On Your Love Light with Pigpen, of course. It's also on Fugitive Records, which is kind of cool. And it says here, to correspond with band members, write to Sing Sing, Cell 1020. This was, yeah, a really cool bootleg. And when I saw this Garcias Gang, and I'd never seen this picture before, and I'd never seen this picture of Jerry either before. Look how cool he looks. Oh man. Okay, next up. An album with a person featuring a cigarette smoking. They're smoking on the cover of the record. And I have to go with Heavy Sounds by Elvin Jones and Richard Davis. Elvin Jones on drums and Richard Davis on bass. Not just one dude smoking, but 2 dudes smoking. The whole album cover is just up in smoke. I love this record cover, and this is great, killer, laid-back, supremely cool, hip, almost like bluesy, chilled-out jazz. So really groovy. There's also who plays piano on this? Billy Green on piano and Frank Foster on tenor sax. An appropriately named record, Heavy Sounds. I scored this at the recycle shop for like $5. I was very, very stoked to score that. So that was a nice, probably 2024 sound, and it's got, of course, Summertime jam on it, a duet just with bass and drums. Raunchy Rita. It's just a 5-song set. I think they had an amazing live session at one point, and it inspired them to go into the studio and record some of this. Okay, next up, a black and white album. I am gonna go with Beastie Boys, Check Your Head from 1992, I think. This, of course, has the what you want. It's also got Jimmy James and Funky Boss, and Gratitude was an important song. That's the one where MCA is starting to be a little bit more of a conscious MC. Very cool song. This is their third record, Paul's Boutique, and you can see that MCA has got a guitar case. This is the album that they brought a lot of their own instruments on. It was a bit of a departure from Paul's Boutique that was very heavily sampled record. And of course there was a couple of killer videos. And my volunteer project, Photo Hoku, we have spoofed a couple of album covers, and this is one of them that we used for promoting our project. Okay, next up is an artist you've recently revisited. Okay, I grew up in the 80s and 90s and on Nickelodeon and on Nick at Night. Nick at Night showed all kinds of reruns from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, including the Brady Bunch, the Monkees. I watched all those old Ozzy and Harriet reruns, and when I came across Ricky Nelson in Bob Dylan's new book, The Modern Song, Bob talks about how Ricky Nelson was a vehicle for bringing rock and roll into the modern teenage 1950s and 60s household. And so I got back into Ricky Nelson. I bought a bunch of Ricky Nelson records, and I think I don't even have them all here, but every time I see a Ricky Nelson record, I pick it up. His voice is so buttery and good, and the songs are excellent, and they make really great set closers and, just head turners. And I got, Japanese pressings, which are kind of cool. Yeah, Rick Nelson. He went as Rick Nelson later in life, but, our little beloved little Ricky Nelson, who I kind of feel like, I grew up with, even though it was 30 years before me. Okay, number 11, a record that another VC person put you on. I am gonna go with Aki Koyano. I know of Aki Koyano, but I have 3 people who have been telling me for 6 months I need to get all of her records. I had one of them. I had this one. I believe it's her first record. But when I saw somebody doing the Japan vinyl tag, Mazzy, he brought up this record, which I have seen on the record walls at the record shops for many years, and I've always been curious about it, and I've always wanted to buy it. Now, she was famously married to Yuichi Sakamoto over here on the far right, who was a member of Yellow Magic Orchestra. I love this band, Yellow Magic Orchestra. They're pioneers of electronic music and really awesome, killer experimental music in Japan. And she is in this performance at, I think, the Hollywood Bowl. YMO is playing this show, and they all have these red uniforms on that are similar, very similar to the one that she's wearing here, that she's carrying this dolphin on. And they look so cool, and she almost steals the show. She's at her synth, and she's just playing the heart. I think they're all on synthesizers, maybe. Or one of, not all of, I think there's a drummer. Takashi-san's playing drums, but the rest of them it's a little bit of musical instruments. They're all playing a little bit of everything, but her performance is so great, and she's just so cool. This record, Iroha no Competo, I don't even know what it means. But killer, well-known Japanese singer, songwriter, musician, composer, legendary musician who's collaborated with everybody. And wow, what a powerhouse of creativity. So that was the record. So thank you, Mazzy. And also, thank you to Poetry on Plastic, who was talking about Aki Koyano a lot. And also to Nikita from Awatar, who said, did you listen to that record yet? And I said, no, not yet, but I'm going to. And so I found a reasonable one, so I scored it recently. Okay, next one, number 12. An album you have a hot take on. I am gonna go with Now and Then, the Beatles' final song that came out. Was it this year? I think a lot of people didn't really know what to make of this song, and they thought it was underwhelming, but I freaking loved this song. And why I love this song is because I thought the Beatles had a rather sad and unfortunate ending. It sort of dissolved unceremoniously. And when the anthology came out and they did Real Love and Free as a Bird, you know, these songs were so awesome and so triumphant. And it almost like was too good of a place to end the Beatles on. It was those songs were so great, but they were so excellent, and they didn't really reflect the sort of bittersweet ending that the Beatles actually had. And I thought that Now and Then had an honesty about it that these didn't quite have. I thought that it was really a reflection of the way that the band just unfortunately parted ways. I appreciated it for that reason. So I disagree with those who thought that this wasn't great and thought it was underwhelming. I think it was an awesome song, and it really was full of everything that makes a great and moving, powerful song. So dang it, Now and Then, great tune. That's my hot take. Okay, next up, number 13. Their second album was the best in honor of Rob Walker. Okay, I have to go with Granddaddy Software Slump. It was the second record of Granddaddy. Jason Lytle, kind of a one-man band. I don't even have the disc in here because it's in my CD player. I listen to this all the time. I love this record. It's a classic record from probably the year 2000-ish. And it's a concept album where there's this story of a group of friends who get a robot, and he's so shiny and new, and they slowly lose interest in him, and he has this sort of sad demise at the end. And it's a very coveted record, very hard to come by. There was a re-release a year ago. I didn't pick it up, but I did pick up a distilled down piano-only version of it, which I really like. This is the Granddaddy, the Software Slump on a wooden piano. A really great version. I prefer the original, but this is interesting and fun, and I was really happy to pick this up a year or two ago. Okay, number 14, a VC Shoutout. Now, I hesitated a little bit to answer this question. Recently, I've gotten a lot of very encouraging messages that have said, hey, your channel is really great and I'm looking forward to the next video. And that's been really fun. But I've had also a smattering of people saying, I'm unsubscribing to your channel and these are the reasons why. And I guess this comes with the territory. It's par for the course. I don't really know, but apparently I'm ruffling some feathers in some circles and warming the hearts in others. So I really hesitated to answer this question, not really knowing exactly who I should shine the spotlight on, but I'm gonna put it on somebody who I just at random threw a dart at and picked Saurin Vinyl. I saw a thumbnail by Saurin Vinyl. I don't actually think I've watched any of his videos, but I would like to, and I intend to in 2025. He is a young VC member who has made a nice channel and made a lot of videos, and the video that caught my eye was a record that I really love, and I kind of zipped through his video and a couple of other of his videos, and he kind of reminded me a bit of myself when I was his age. I'm guessing he's probably less than half my age. I don't know, he just really inspired me. I wonder what I would have been like if I had had the opportunity to blog about my record collection and my music collection when I was his age. So, Saurin Vinyl, you look like a cool dude. I'm excited about your videos. I'm gonna check you out, and thanks for letting me shout you out. And everybody go follow Saurin Vinyl. Okay, next one, number 15. An album with the title that begins with F for Fluffy. I got it, okay. I am going with Friends of Mine by Adam Green of the Moldy Peaches. This is his second solo album after the Moldy Peaches that followed Garfield, which is sort of feels like a studio demo. This is filled with strings and orchestration and very beautiful songs and lots of great production. He's kind of a Jonathan Richman type character. He's got a beautiful baritone voice and his songs are really quirky and fun. And this record is a great one. I have a lot of his discography, but this one has Bluebirds on My Window, da, 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 da. You know, he's got these really fun melodies. He's got Jessica Simpson. He's got Friends of Mine, and they're great like guitar tunes, and I really love Adam Green. A big, huge fan. New York character who's been writing songs since the early 2000s. He's part of the anti-folk movement. Okay, Adam Green, Friends of Mine, for an album that starts with F. Okay, next up. An album with a smile on the cover. I am going with Bob Marley and the Whalers. This is my 12-inch single of Soul Shakedown Party. I was looking for this record for the longest time. I think it's from 71. I don't think it's been on any of his LPs, and it took me forever to find this. But while I was looking for it, Kazuki-san at Cocoa Isle Music Market told me that he found a remix version of it and gifted it to me, and it's this great picture of Bob with a huge smile on his face. The version on here is a bit weird. It's dance hall from the late 90s, early 2000s. It's fun, but it doesn't really compare to the original. But this photo is so great. I love the green color too. And it's just fun to have a Soul Shakedown Party remix with a giant smile from Bob Marley. Thank you, Kazuki-san. Go check out Cocoa Isle Music Market for all your reggae needs. Okay, number 17, a musician featured in a movie. And because I think I'm early to the tag here, I am going to go ahead and claim one of the best musician actors of our time, Tom Waits. This is his live album that was also accompanied a play that followed the Frank's Wild Years story, which opened with Swordfish Trombones and went on to Rain Dogs and ended on Frank's Wild Years. And it was the story of an alter ego of Tom Waits. Tom Waits has appeared in 40 movies, including Outsiders and Rumblefish, S.E. Hinton, Shoutout Tulsa, Down by Law, Fishing with John, by Jim Jarmusch, Night on Earth as well, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Coffee and Cigarettes. This was a crazy one. The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. He was a weird character in this one. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs by the Coen brothers. He played an amazing gold miner in this one. The first time he sort of donned his giant white beard and white hair. Very cool. I love Tom Waits, you know, amazing dude, and I have his entire discography, and this is a amazing live performance that you can check out both in audio form and in video form. Okay, next up, an album with a great gatefold. I am going back to the Beasties, and I'm going to their 1989 release, Paul's Boutique. This was the follow-up to Licensed to Ill. Killer record. I bought this when it came out. I was 13, 14 years old. It wasn't Licensed to Ill Part 2. It was something very different. This was when they moved from New York, set up shop in Los Angeles, and recorded with the Dust Brothers, and a heavily sampled record, as I mentioned earlier. And they put out this record that wasn't acclaimed at the time, but over the years, critics have come to really, really love this record, and it is one of my favorites. Because I bought it, and because it confused me and wasn't quite Licensed to Ill Part 2, and I'd already spent my $12 on the cassette, you know, I had to learn to love this record, and that is one of the reasons that this record is so special to me. This record has a great gatefold. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. It's an amazing fold out. It's this amazing New York Boulevard, and on the opposite side, it's Paul's Boutique, and it's the other direction of the street. And, you know, it's just like a great scene of New York in the 80s with the beautiful camera lens flare, maybe from a Lomo or Holga camera. And I really love to listen to this record and admire this giant gatefold as I'm listening to this record. So, amazing records by the Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique. Next up, a record that gets you pumped up. These questions are so good, Fluffy. I really love this idea. This is so much better than the last record you got. And I am gonna go with the Black Keys Brothers from 2010. Now, I have the whole Black Keys discography. I love the Black Keys. All their records pump me up. I love the blues and I love the two-piece, and they do it so well. But this was the first record where they got a lot of critical acclaim and, you know, got really huge on on MTV and had a whole band and went around and had music videos, but it's got some killer songs on it, including Everlasting Light, Tighten Up, Howling for You. That's the tune, especially, that gets me pumped up. It's got a sort of like, it's upbeat, but it's got this like We Will Rock You kind of vibe to it. I freaking love that song. And if I go out for a jog, that's the tune that I want to hear in my ears. It just gets me going, gets me pumped up. And the Black Keys, this is one of their best. If you don't have any Black Keys, I recommend picking this one up. They're all great, but this one's fantastic. And this is, I think, a 3-disc repress from Nonstop Records. Man, these guys are cool. You know, give it up for the Black Keys. Okay, next up, an album you wish you could experience for the first time again. Now, this is a record I've talked about on my channel a couple of times. This is the debut album from the Japanese folk rock band Happy End. This one is called Yude Men, and it is so groovy. I love this record. If you love Buffalo Springfield, Grateful Dead, you will love this record. It's so cool and so groovy. I really love the guitar work. I love the drumming on it. Everything about this record just captured my imagination. The first time I heard it, I was mesmerized because I didn't think that this kind of music existed in Japan, and it is one of the reasons, as I've talked about on other videos, that I am still living here 20 years later. This album took my breath away. They have a short discography, but this is their first, and in my opinion, their very best. Pick up this record if you don't have it. This is a great intro into Japanese rock and roll music. From 1970, I want to say. Led by the enigmatic genius Haruomi Hosono. Oh, okay, so we've reached the end already. Okay, that was great. That was a killer list, Fluffy. I really loved it. Inspiring questions. They were fantastic, well thought out. It was fun to answer them. You offered 5 additional bonus questions. I'm gonna go ahead and answer the bonus questions. So without further ado, show a 10-inch or 7-inch. I'm going to show you a couple of 10 inches. I've got Little Axe, The Wolf That House Built, and G-Love and Special Sauce, both on OK Records. I love these modern OK 10 inches. G-Love and Special Sauce, I like cold beverages. And this thing is very interesting. I've had this for years and years. It says here, Skip McDonald and his tackhead mates combined with producer Adrian Sherwood to create the world's first ambient dub blues project. Anytime I put this on the turntables, nobody knows quite what to make of it. It's like an electronic blues thing, an electronic beat with some raspy vocals over it. Very, very interesting record. Little Axe, The Wolf That House Built, G-Love and Special Sauce, both on OK Records. Okay, next up on the bonus list, a favorite reissue of 2024. Now, I have a copy of the Velvet Underground's Loaded, signed by Lou Reed, no less. And this is one of my most beloved treasures, and I almost am nervous to spin it. So when Analog Productions was re-releasing records from the Atlantic label's 75th anniversary, and my friend Bryce Suzuki came over to Japan and brought me a brand new repressing of this, I was so delighted. It sounds so good. I think it's my first audiophile record. I don't have any MoFi records. And so I was really excited to listen to this. I'm so excited to be able to retire my treasured Loaded, and you know, I'm very, very happy about this. It sounds great, and it's great that my friend Bryce gave it to me. So shout out to Bryce Suzuki. I love you, Bryce. Thank you so much. Okay, an album of a musician who you would like to have seen in a movie. I'm gonna go with Jack White. Jack White seems like he probably already has some movie credits that I'm not aware of. He seems like he could take the same route of Tom Waits. I kind of feel like Jack White might be the Tom Waits of our generation. I really love nearly everything he does. I have all the old White Stripe stuff. I have all the new stuff as well. He puts out too much stuff for me to collect it all. But this is a acoustic recordings from 1998 to 2016. I think I have most of these songs on other records, and I think I even have these recordings on other records. But this is a fantastic sort of sampler that I like to throw on. It's like really easy, and I like the track order, and it's fantastic. It's all of him on an acoustic guitar. If you don't have a copy of this, acoustic recordings. And I love it how he puts these like little labels on his records, and you have to like cut them, and it's kind of makes them like yours. I really love that about Jack White. And Jack White has a house in Tulsa, I think, and you know, I got a lot of respect for Jack White. Been a long time fan. Two more. A record a friend gifted you. I just got a brand new copy, also an Analog Productions, of Herbie Hancock and the Headhunters, a record that I've owned before but no longer have. For some reason, I said goodbye to this record at some point. I love this record and cherish this record. And Paul of Baraka P. Dub recently gifted me a copy. This came all the way from America in a package. It was sent at great expense. Thank you so much, Paul. I was very stoked to get this. It came with another record, Stanley Turrentine, a Blue Note, one of these Tone Poet records, which I don't have. He sent me these two amazingly nice records. Thank you so much. Baraka P. Dub. And the last one, a record featuring a spoken word track. Now, I really love this thing, A Day at the Races by Jim Carroll. I don't know where it exists. I don't know if Jim Carroll's got it on a record somewhere. This amazing spoken word story of him and his lover making the most of a very unfortunate affliction. And I also thought about Patti Smith and a few other people and but I'm gonna go with a cassette of all things. And this happens to be Fish's narrated Gamehenge from, I'm gonna say 1987, okay? This is a little treasure. This is Trey Anastasio's college thesis, his music school thesis, and it is a epic story and collection of songs where there is a protagonist who goes into the land of Gamehenge, where he encounters the revolutionaries fighting evil King Wilson, and they have to capture the helping friendly book to restore happiness to the valley of Gamehenge. And it's so fun, and it's expanded out into this big, amazing Fish universe, and it has narrations all over it. And not only does it have narrations, but it has narrations that evolve differently through the different versions that they do of these songs, and it is just killer. If you haven't ever looked into Gamehenge, I highly recommend it. If you want to know more about Gamehenge, then go follow my other YouTube channel, Doglog, where my friend Michael Warren and I pontificate about our passion and admiration for the band Fish. Okay. So that wraps it up. Thank you so much, Fluffy, for working so hard to put forward the 2025 Fluffy vinyl tag. I loved it. I really love doing it. Thank you so much. I hope you get a lot of people who do it. Happy New Year to everybody in the vinyl community. Until next time, I'll see you at the record store. Bye!